Thanks for joining us today. Today we're going to cover log haul. We're going to cover winter weight conditions, map conditions, permit conditions, interaxle spacings. We're going to cover your width, your height, interaxle spacings in the sense that how it affects you for the weights you can haul. We're going to cover all these things and more, so this should be very informative. Thanks again. We'll see you in a bit. Okay, now, so we have a tree length load here. So with the tree length load, how we need secured is a minimum of 3 tie downs. Each tie down has to have a working load limit on it, okay? So with the working load limit, of the 3 tie downs, you have to add them together and you have to be able to secure at least 1/6 of the load weight. Okay, so this is an off-highway load. Okay, if this was permitted, if it was under a permit condition, each one of these tie downs would have to have a minimum working load limit of 1,368 kilograms, okay? You can't have any knots in the working section. Okay, so the working section is anything that's securing the load. Okay, worst case scenario, let's say you don't have a working load limit on one of these devices. The officer could decide to give you a written warning or a $575 fine. Okay. So we have a load of logs here. So what I'm going to talk about is some requirements where logs have to contact stakes. So this is a tree length load. So whether it's a tree length or cut to length, all outside logs have to contact at least 2 bunk stakes. Okay. So when I'm talking about outside logs, I'm talking about outside left, outside right, and outside underneath. Okay. So if all your logs have to be loaded so they contact and go past the outside stakes and past the bottom bolsters. So let's say a log shifts in transit. You have a pulp load or a shortwood load. If that log shifts and doesn't contact, and it's an outside log and it doesn't contact bunk stake or a bolster, you're going to have 2 tie downs on that log. Okay, if you get stopped and transportation sees that, if there's a log that, let's say, cuts short right to here and it's sticking out of the load and it's on the outside, you can get a $575 fine, which is a loose load ticket. So again, you always have to carry extra wrappers, extra chains, whether you belly wrap or you can ratchet them. Just remember that's considered a loose load. You might not be able to physically move that log, but it's still considered a loose load under the cargo securement standard, okay? So carry extra wrappers, extra boomers, whatever you need to secure that log. It needs to be loaded properly at the landing, so everything has to contact at least 2 bunk stakes on the outsides and the bottom side. So by the cargo securement standard, on a tree length load you have to have a minimum of 3 tie downs. All 3 tie downs have to have a working load limit displayed. And with a load like this, you have to secure 1/6 of the load weight, whether it's an off-highway load or an on-highway load. The only thing different you get on an off-highway, like a private road, would be your widths, your height, and your weights can be exceeded. So with that, the owner of the road would be the one that would dictate your widths and your weights. So that would, on this road, this is the Pinot Cutter Cross. This would be Weyerhaeuser, which